This is Cheryl Manley from Sharing Love of Paper. I'm so glad you could join me today. This is the second of a two-part video adapting Stampin' Up's Weekend Adventure Scrapbooking Workshop Kit for pages that are not about camping. Part 1 was a look at adapting the 3 double-page layouts to use my pictures, cutting the papers, laying out the papers and photos. Though I did want to point out that after the last video, I decided I wanted multiple mats on the focal photo as you see here. Anyway, today we're looking at embellishing. I have sometimes found embellishing to be challenging because I want to make sure my embellishments support and enhance the theme of my page. For example, if the page is about botanical gardens or perhaps an event where flowers are prominent, like a wedding, I'll use flowers to embellish. But if flowers aren't a natural part of my particular topic, I don't want to use them for embellishments. On this page, there are no flowers involved in feeding the bison, so I'll want to find other ways to embellish this page. These kits really help with that because they give ideas on how to create embellishments because of the embellishments that they include. So for example, here we have several little banner type pieces, and I thought they would work well just tucked under there. These pieces came in the kit, but I can always cut tags or banners to use. This isn't something that's difficult. So there's that idea. I also had seen these. Once again, I can always stamp a sentiment and cut it into a shape, and these are just paper strips, but I thought they might work well tucked up here like this. One thing I should probably mention, when I left you last time, I had thought I would not use a flip-flap on this page, that I would just spread the photos out. The problem I ran into was that the subject of this photo is so large it dominates, and I didn't want that for the focal for my page. It's not that pretty. So I decided I'd use a flip-flap. If you're not familiar with them, they're just a clear pocket with adhesive under this strip. After you put your sheet in the sheet protector, you simply center this over the photo that it's meant to cover, peel off the strip, and adhere it to the sheet protector. Then it just opens so you can see the photos underneath without a lot of surgery to your sheet protector. So I love flip-flaps. Stampin' Up! Has them in several different sizes. 3x3, 3x4, 4x4, and 4x6. So you can do a lot of things with those flip-flaps, and that's what I'm going to be doing here. It changes the layout a bit, though. So anyway, I thought I could do something like this down here. Oh yeah, I also had this little banner I thought I could tuck in here somewhere, just for some added interest. I want this picture to sit below the black and white paper and under the photo here, something like that. And then, once again, I have more of these strips. And then this little piece that says, having fun, which we were. It was fun feeding the bison. So something like that is what I'm thinking for embellishing this page. It's fairly simple, but it does add a bit of interest and helps take the eye around the page. I'll set this aside and glue everything off camera, but first let's bring in the companion page. On the companion page, we had glued these down already because we knew where we wanted them. Here, I've got these in the flip-flap ready to go. I'll just put them right on top of the camel picture where they go. I wasn't sure where I wanted the journaling block until we finished the embellishing, so it's still sitting here loose. So once again, I found some pieces in the kit that I thought would work and brought them in. I have this flag piece. Because I glued the picture and mat too close to the edge, I can't slip it underneath like I intended, so I may have to trim it if I'm going to get it to the right length. I've got several of these little banners, and then I thought this would work well. I think I want them different lengths, so I'll be trimming these as needed. The other pieces I thought I might add are these two pieces. This little pop of color, and this little piece that says it's time for an adventure. So that gives me a couple more spots, so the eye is sort of drawn around the page. You know, I'm wondering whether this would be better over here, with these pieces tucked up under here under the journaling. By doing that, it pulls the eye into the center of the page, not just around the outside edge. I'm really not sure I want to have these pieces there. I'm leaning towards not having them. I'm thinking this might work well like that by turning it sideways, but I'm not sure about this piece which needs to be horizontal. What if we put it down here? I think I like that better. We could even center it on the journaling block. What I didn't like about having stuff up here was that it was taking the eye around the page instead of into the page. I like that pop of color bringing the eye into the page like that. Maybe bring this up a little bit, something like that. I might matte this with white so it's seen a little better. I'll take this off camera and glue it, and I'll be back. Here's the finished spread. I did make a few changes as I was doing my gluing. I added a bit of very vanilla baker's twine to this tag. I matted the title and the Happy Day embellishment. I think the rest is pretty much the way I had it. Okay, on to the next page. This is the page where I was wanting 2 flip-flaps. Let me just move this. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and glue this onto its mat so I don't keep fighting with it. We had talked about the title in this piece before. I found this little word unwind, and that's really what we were doing. I found this that says group photo, and this is a group photo here. I decided that I wanted to spread these quite a ways apart so I could bring this in here. I want it up. I can't go up too high because I don't want to be overlapping my flip-flap. I had said earlier I didn't think I wanted to bring this in because of the orange versus the pink in the photo, but I realized that the coloring in the photo is such that her shirt really doesn't look very pink, and I decided the orange was fine. I liked this saying. First off, this stamped, "Just love spending time with you," was a stamp from a discontinued set called So Sincere. I thought it went well with the topic of this page. There, I think I want it like that. It says, "Time is precious, waste it wisely." I love that. And this one says, "Time to play." That's what our visit to Branson was all about, spending time with family, unwinding, and playing. So that's what I figure I'll do for this page. The hearts go well with the theme because it's about loving family and loving spending time together. So this is what I'll do for this page, and I'll bring in the page that goes beside it. For this one, I didn't bring in too many more pieces. We already had it pretty well put together. However, I thought since it was a dance event, I'd bring in a few music notes cut with an older die set from my stash. And I found a few extra pieces I thought would be good. Beautiful. The dancing was beautiful, and we enjoyed the dancing we did. Better together. It really was fun to be with the whole group like that. Roundorama is a week-long dance event that we just really enjoyed being able to attend. So this is what I thought I'd add to this page. Just a few music notes, paper, and words. I'll go ahead and go off camera to glue these in place, and I'll be back. Okay, I'm back with this one. I think I put it together pretty much the way I had intended. I would have liked to have this cluster of elements overlap the upper pictures a bit, but I can't have them going on top of the flip-flaps. That's the downside of using flip-flaps. I really like them because I can fit so much more on a page without making the photos really small or making the layout really crowded. So I think the trade-off is worth it. And here's this page. I did swap a couple of music notes, but other than that, I think it's pretty much the way I had laid it out. The words and paper pieces from the kit do add, and they would be easy to make. So that's something I'm hoping to remember for future projects. Now for the Ark Encounter double-page spread that includes the gatefold. I like to think about double-page spreads as a unit. Once again, I went through the kit looking for pieces that would enhance this layout. One thing I thought about was the subject. Because this is about Noah's Ark, I thought there should be animals. So I made a few animals from die sets I had. I think some of these were from Elizabeth Craft and some from Karen Burniston. Honestly, they're a bit more cutesy than would be best, but they're what I had, and I couldn't imagine making a page about Noah's Ark without a few animal pairs as embellishments. You can see that I put these on a white torn oval mat because they weren't standing out very well against the background. A solid oval just looked weird, but the torn oval gave me a place to put them. I put the chickens up here where they would be more visible against the dark background. I had this word glued down, but you remember I had talked about maybe bringing in more blue? I found this piece and thought maybe that would work well here. So I pulled up my word and put it on top, and I found this little chevron piece that I thought could be added to this flag. For this page, I had talked about the possibility of bringing in some journaling. I had thought about putting it there, but I didn't really like that. I think this is better. Remember, this is a gatefold that opens, using an old gatefold sheet protector. So it's really in two pieces, but I want it to look like it's the same piece. So I've got this journaling, and I took some more chevron pieces and thought that might work well here. I think I may have mentioned that on the last video. So something like that kind of points to my journaling. I found a couple of interesting shapes. I thought maybe to put that there, but maybe it should come down here. I found several pieces that I glued on top of the other. Then I cut it, because once again, these are two separate pieces. I thought this could go like this. So basically, all I did was to go through the pieces in the kit and look for things that might go with my pages. I thought maybe another chevron here pointing to those reptiles. So that's what I was thinking to do for these pages. I think I'll call that good. I'll go ahead and go off camera and glue these in place. As you've seen, sometimes in that process I change my mind about things, so I'll go ahead and bring it back in when I'm done to show you the finished piece. Then we'll look at what goes inside the gatefold. So here's my finished layout. I did decide that star-like piece, if it was over here, was just too close to that one. So I moved it up here, but I put it on a scrap of Cajun Craze cardstock so it would stand out a bit from the background. I didn't have another one of these, but it was easy enough to cut one from scraps using these as a template. So that's what I did, because I still needed something over here. So now I have my embellishments in place, and it's time to look at the inside of this gatefold. I'll move this piece and bring this into the center. What's going to happen is that we're going to open this. What will be on the inside? I'll bring that in now. This is what will be on the inside on that side, and this is what's on the inside on this side. And this is what goes between them. That's what we had when we stopped last time. This piece wasn't used on Project 2, and I thought it might go nicely here. And I had this journaling block, which I thought could be centered there. I had these pieces, which I thought I could use on either side of my journaling block. This piece was a bit long, but I thought it could come over here somewhere, just to give a little more interest. I had two more of these chevron pieces. I thought one could go here, and one maybe over here. I had this piece, it could go there, and this little footprint I thought was kind of a fun piece, might find a home over here somewhere. I had three more little banner pieces that I thought maybe could come over here. I had this piece I could put there, but I think it's too dark. Perhaps I could cut one of these out of this color and add a bit of this color over here as well, so we have several spots of this color to pull the eye around the page. So I think I'm going to go off camera. I'm going to create these pieces I mentioned. I'll glue things in place and be back. Here is what it looks like when it's all glued together. I did change several things. I decided I didn't like the elements that were here. I pulled the footprint and put it over here. I combined these two pieces, deciding to put both on one photo instead of one on each. There's the arrow I talked about making. I made another one over here, and then I decided I didn't like this huge big picture with nothing, so I went ahead and put this here where it's pointing out that 85% of the animals were really small, so they wouldn't have taken a lot of room. Anyway, this is my finished layout, and I'll go ahead and bring the rest in so you can see how this works. Here is the first layout. This flip-flap opens like this, once this strip is taken off and it's glued to the page protector. This one will open up and will show that up here. The second one, really two individual pages. We have the page about Branson. Once again, we have flip-flaps that open. You can see my journaling is under the flip-flap, and this one about our time at Roundorama. Then we have the arc encounter, and when we open these pages, I'll go ahead and move this over so you can see it. When you open these pages, this is what you see on the inside. I was just getting ready to put my pages in the album when I realized I hadn't included this brochure that we got when we were at the arc encounter. I thought you might like to see how I handle pieces like this. I think they're a fun addition, but often they don't really fit on the page itself. So in that case, I simply take a piece of paper. This is a piece of paper that's approximately 11 inches by 12. The size you need will depend on the size of the brochure. I just put the brochure lined up at the top, but centered side to side. Then I fold over the sides, leaving a little extra room so it's not too hard to get in and out. I'm just making a little pocket for it. I'll fold up the bottom, glue everything together like that, and then I'll show you what I do with it. I'll take the brochure out while I go ahead and glue. What works well for me is to glue along both edges. I glue along that edge and I glue along this edge, then I fold it and crease well with my bone folder. I want to make sure there's no stray glue in the middle that's holding it closed. It's loose all the way through, so that's what I want. So now I'm going to fold it. I'll just put a little glue here to make my life easier. Hold it down like that. Then I'll fold it up and glue it here. I'm actually going to add a bit of glue between the two pieces as well. Then I'll press well with my bone folder. What I'm going to do now is put this in back of my page. The easiest way to do it is to first glue this in place. I usually glue it so the side with the glued ends is facing the paper, so it's pretty smooth from the back. It really doesn't matter that much because that's not the side people will see. I'll just add glue. I want to add a fair amount because this will have a bit more stress on it with people pulling the brochure in and out. I want to make sure there's plenty of glue here at the center of the top. You'll see why in a minute. Okay, which is the top of my page? This is the top. I want it to be centered about here. So let's bring that as the center right about there. Does that look good from the front? Yes, that looks just about where I want it. So I'm going to glue it in place there. Oops, it looks like I wasn't careful enough and a tiny bit of it is showing above the page. I'll just quickly pull in my scissors and take care of that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this 1 1/8 inch circle punch. The exact size isn't critical. You can see that I'm placing the punch to cut through the scrapbook page and the part glued to it, but not the back. I'll leave the back piece intact and punch a partial circle about halfway or a little less through the rest of it. Though you'll see later that I decided to punch through all layers, so you could just do that here. Now you see I've got a place where I can put this brochure. It looks like there's a piece here that didn't get glued well, so I'll pull the brochure back out and fix that. That side seems to be good. So I can slide this in, and now I'll make a little pull tab for it. I want to make it so the tab is only on the front, so when I pull this out it can be opened. I'll see if I can find a scrap here that will work. I think maybe I can punch a circle from this piece. There we go. I've got a circle from that piece of scrap, and now I just want to score it in half. I'll just line this up so the groove is right in the middle, and I'll just score it and fold it along that score line. I'll crease it well and then glue it to just that front part. First, I'm going to put the brochure in here because I want to make sure I get this in the right place. By gently pulling the page away from the brochure, I can keep the circle piece in place and still have room to work. I'll just add a bit of glue to this side only and glue it in place. Then I'll slide it back in to make sure it's in the right place. Now that I'm sure it's where I want it, I'll make sure I only have a single layer of the brochure before I glue down the rest of it. Now I can take my pen and write pull. Then I can put this in here and we've got a little pull tab that I can pull out. In fact, I think it'll be easier if I punch through that last layer. I'll do that off camera. Now that's the completed page with the brochure added. As always, I hope you've enjoyed this video and will click that thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already done so. Thanks and have a great day.